All right, Brunsy, let's change gears, go to football here. I know that it's kind of part of your family. They're over at 24/7 Sports, but CBS Sports put out a article about one former Nebraska head coach, Scott Frost. Apparently he wants to coach again, so good for him. Did you find the tone of that article strange at all?
Yeah. I did.
Probably a leading question, but like your thoughts.
I mean, I know the headline was that he had, grown and learned and from his time at Nebraska. You didn't really get that in the article. I was kind of, how you're kind of waiting.
Yep.
Like you're reading something.
Yep.
And you're waiting for it, and it
at all
never happened.
And then it ends.
Never didn't. It was a 6-minute read and it was done. I don't know. I would have liked to have known if there was a little bit more self-reflection about his time there. I think that was probably what everybody was kind of hunting for when they started reading that article. I have no doubts that he wants to get back into coaching. I mean, I would have probably said that before the article.
Yeah,
but,
I think that's pretty obvious. Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, I guess I was left wanting a little bit from what was there. That's probably my diplomatic way of saying it.
I appreciate that. I said all the undiplomatic things in the first hour. If anybody wants to go back and check those out, but I understand Bruntz has to tread a little carefully here. Bruntz, I wanted to switch over to actual happenings in Nebraska football now, or I guess maybe potential future happenings. Alan True, one of your analysts over there at 24/7 Sports, has put in a crystal ball prediction for a 4-star running back for Nebraska, Jamaran Parker. Big deal? Not a big deal?
Big deal. I think it's a big deal. He had been committed to Arkansas for a very long time. I want to say almost a year.
Mm-hmm.
And recently reopened his recruitment. The thought was that certainly Nebraska was going to be in the mix there, and they certainly are. The running backs coach that recruited him to Arkansas is now at TCU. And that was another potential school that was kind of thought to be in the mix for him. I think they are a little bit, but I think Nebraska's done a really nice job of recruiting him. And it's not, getting running back talent is really important. I think also you're finally starting to see a little bit of the fruit of Nebraska's efforts in St. Louis. And we've talked a lot about, in the past about how Nebraska needs to get better in the state of Missouri. There's a ton of talent there. They've done better, I think, under Matt Rule, and part of that has been the work of Keith Williams. Behind the scenes, he's a St. Louis guy. He understands Missouri, and Rob Dvoracek, EJ Barthel. They've done a really nice job of targeting guys early in St. Louis, using their contacts down there to kind of find out who's kind of up and coming and that kind of thing, and just starting to build those relationships. So, with Parker, Nebraska, he's been up to Nebraska multiple times. He's up here again today for practice. He's coming back for an official visit. That would be a nice win just in terms of a talented running back, which he is, but also finally Nebraska would be back to getting guys out of St. Louis. And it's not just him. You've got Corey Sims, a legacy wide receiver out of St. Louis as well that has an official visit scheduled. And I think guys in that area are starting to, look at Nebraska as a realistic option now. And that hasn't necessarily been the case in recent years. So that's a good sign.
Bruntz, looking at spring practice, everything that's been going on since it started, who's been kind of the talk of practice, performance wise, who's kind of been surprising that you've been hearing out of the Husker camp and just around the area as a whole?
Yeah, I think it's been more by position in some ways. I think you just kind of go through the roster picture, and we got to see a little bit of individual periods and stuff last week during practice. And I mean, the flip that's taken place in the last year in terms of depth and talent on the defensive line is pretty remarkable. I mean, I think that's kind of where your eye gravitates toward first is like, they've got, I would say probably 7 guys right now, maybe 8 guys that they would probably feel okay about putting in a game right now as we stand here in April. And, the challenge is going to be, how do you get a guy like James Williams, who was great as a situational pass rusher last year, on the field on first and second down? And how do you get more out of Elijah Judy, who is, by all means, one of their more talented defensive linemen, but maybe hasn't kind of found, how to kind of go to that level consistently yet. So that they're trying to unlock that, but I really like what that group can be. And anytime you're good up front on defense, I mean, it makes things so much easier for you on the other 2 levels. And, I'll say one other thing. I mean, the other group that I'm intrigued to hear more about this spring is the wide receiver group. And they brought in Nair and Banks. They needed a shot of kind of veteran experience there. But it's an intriguing group of young guys too. I think Ja'Cory Barney might have a chance to get on the field early on. I'm eager to see what Demetrius Bell can do coming off of that redshirt year and carrying 30 more pounds than what he had when he showed up. So those are the 2 groups I think that at least through the first week have kind of caught my attention, and maybe also kind of what we're hearing as well.
Michael Bruntz from Husker 24/7. Bruntz, am I the only one that spent way too much time looking at that spring league video, trying to figure out who all the blurred out guys were, or is that a me problem, or did you spend some time Zapruder filming that thing as well?
I did not.
Okay.
I may need to.
So you may have have a little bit better mental health situation than I have.
I was wondering, are we going to get like a transfer wire, like a waiver wire thing? Like, are we going to get updates?
On the transactions? I hope so.
Yeah,
that would be incredible.
I like this idea, if for no other reason. Like, it just seems like this is the kind of stuff you did when you were like 12. And also, like, it just seems like Matt Rule and his staff do this stuff because it's fun, like it makes going into work fun, and doing stuff like this is a little bit unique. You compete a little bit. I mean, I like it. I've heard some people say, oh, it's kind of a distraction, blah, blah, blah. Well,
not if you're still getting work done, right? I mean,
right. I know. I mean, and it's like, God forbid you have fun. Like, it's spring ball, like it's by the time you get to like the 3rd week of spring ball, I mean, you're looking for anything. And, I like it. I really like the wrinkle.
Well, and they're obviously very specifically working on situational things, right?
Yeah.
Like the one yesterday was all about like I don't remember what they call it, but it was all about 3rd downs and different distances and stuff like that. Like, that's a very useful skill to have. Why not gamify it a little bit like that? I don't understand the people that have a problem with this at all.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I think that there's still, for whatever reason, some people think that you should be doing like the Junction Boy stuff. So, I mean, it's
that's famously not legal.
Just get the hoses out.
The lawsuits would be unreal.
Yeah. You don't want to be doing that in the transfer portal era, that's for sure.
I don't know. There's not enough NIL money in the world to make somebody go through that.
Yeah. But yeah, I know. I don't know. I like it. It's we'll see if they do it in the future, but why the heck not? I mean, it livens up spring ball, which I'm all for.
Well, and it makes it easier to ask guys to do the crappy stuff, right? If they know that there's things that they're going to enjoy along the way, like, it makes it a little easier to get through the mat drills or whatever sucks the most. It's easier to get through if you're like, but we have this other fun thing that we get to do.
Yeah. No, it makes everything suck a little less, and that's okay.
I think that's the goal of life, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right.
It's my entire life is just
basically like how I roll out of bed in the morning. How can I make this suck a little less?
It's like most of adulthood, right? It's like, okay, I have to do this, and I got to do this, and I got to do this. How can I make all of this just a little less crappy?
Yep.
Bruntz, as I know we've only got a couple more open periods left for media on the 9th and 16th, I believe. Is there anything you are I know they don't show you a ton. Is there anything you're hoping to be able to see over these next couple of weeks, or is it mostly just waiting for the spring game to see anything of substance at all?
Yeah, I mean it's going to be the spring game. I mean, you're like what we see. It's all individual period. It's guys doing tackling drills on dummies and guys running routes on air and that kind of thing. And I don't know, you kind of get more of a sense of just like the feeling around things. Like if guys are dialed in, if it's tense, that kind of stuff. But I mean, the spring game is going to be the big thing because, you want to see how two freshman quarterbacks operate in that kind of a situation and how they lead teams and how they deal with a guy, running after them and a grown man running after him and trying to sack them, that kind of stuff. So it's all kind of like the little appetizer leading up to the main deal with the spring game. So, we'll see. They also had a lot of guys that were kind of in green jerseys or in the pit, that kind of thing, with injuries. So, I mean, you're always kind of checking to see who's where with that kind of stuff. But definitely, you'll learn a ton more when the lights come on the 27th.
Michael Bruntz, Husker 24/7. Bruntsy, we appreciate it as always. We will talk to you again next week.
Sounds good, guys. Thanks. Have a good one.
You too.